We are here. We are live. We are the Tendys on Pattison. I'm Jack, joined today by Chris.
Yep.
We are without Paul, our third person. Um,
Who's drinking his sorrows away expensively in Las Vegas?
uh, Lucky him. I don't know if you saw the show description, Chris, but what's there to say? You know,
You know what? It was funny because I was actually getting ready to make the studio, and then you had done it, and then I haven't even looked at it because I was like, "What can you say?" I was like, it was like my original one was Griff and Chris discuss sigh the Flyers' current losing streak and how long it could possibly go.
yeah. I just put. We're going to state the obvious. They stink.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's what can you say? There's legitimately nothing you can say right now. They fired the coach. Um, you can clearly see it's more than a coaching thing. People want to sit there and they want to blame Giroux. They want to blame AV. They want to blame anybody. It starts at the top. Like, look at the Devils and the Rangers.
They've gone through rebuilds, and now in a Devils case, they're close to being on the other side. In the Rangers case, they're on the other side. Like
It just makes me like want to do drugs or something. I don't know.
um, I think that when we got on air last week, and I think that we've tried to be on the more like rational side of things. Um, Throughout this whole thing, the reality is it does go to the top, and we're tired of hearing excuses. We're tired of seeing an average to below average to now bad team 2 years in a row. We gave them the leeway during the quote unquote retool to try and fix the contract issues and adjusting to the cap. And the reality is during that retool, we never really got a high end player.
Yeah, there was obviously the Kevin Hayes signing, 3 years ago. There was talk that they may have overpaid, but you overpay in every sport. It's not like you just overpay in hockey. And I think so. People are just looking at that. They're looking at the lack of production from the rest of the team, and they say it all triggers downhill, but 28's the only one getting the blame.
Look, they're just not good enough.
Like, how is it possible that we have a goalie, but we suck? And I don't know. Like, it's just.
You know how I feel. Like I like Kevin Hayes. He's a very nice player. He's not a star. They don't have a Hart caliber player on this team.
And they haven't had
And
one since Giroux's the 1 year he had the 100 points.
and even then, I think that was more a Philadelphia manifestation. I don't know that the league actually considered him, and even with the points, that the league really considered him in that era. And look, if you go back over the years, during this retool, during where we are now, where we think that they have talent on paper and they're just not executing, the reality is when you look at those cup winners, it's a handful of guys, and every team, right? You're talking about Crosby, Ovechkin, when it was the Kings, Kopitar, Patrick Kane. It's a handful of guys that are elite players. And yes, hockey's a team sport. I don't know how much you can seriously compete without having a star.
Well, they're not. We're seeing how bad it is. As good as Giroux has been, which whatever you have your issues. People have their issues with Giroux. That's fine, but you're not getting anything from Couturier, who just signed that massive extension, which is generally it's a it's a friendly contract. After I think like I forget what season it is where, it's a very tradable contract. Um, you know,
But he's not. Couture's a two-way player. He's
right?
not. He's not, and was never supposed to be one of those guys. I just we're sitting here today, and I guess like where I'm getting frustrated and annoyed is like, all right, fine. Like at the end of like when the cap comes into place, we go, the Flyers can't continue their tradition of trading away young talent for aging veterans. That being said, I think since the Shea Weber offer sheet, they haven't made one like Flyers grand bold move in a long time. They've been very patient and very thoughtful, and it hasn't yielded results. So, like, what do you do now? It's above my pay grade for what they do now. But what do they do now? There's no fixing this in sight for some time without a bold move.
Yeah, I don't know. Our luck, they'll probably go out and acquire Dustin Brown from the Kings, who's in his 18th year in the NHL, and that'll be like, well, that was their big veteran move. I don't know what they can do. Like, it's not even that. Like, yeah, they're not good enough, but at least when you like some teams who are like bad, and at least they're competitive, and I just don't see that.
Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using.
Lex is on her own.
No, you know what? Is my alarm is set through my Pandora from when I wake up in the morning, and for some reason it just went off at 6:20 instead of AM. It went off at PM. That's why. But they're just not good enough. Like, and they're not exciting to watch. I feel like they're not in every game. They lost to the Devils 3-0 last night. I turned it on and it was 2-0, and I was like, "Oh, right, so
it's over."
Like I'm gonna go watch something else. Like I'm gonna watch 2.5 Men for the 87th time. I'm gonna watch The Office. Like, and that shouldn't be our thought process. Like, we got to spend. Usually our shows range anywhere from 45 to 58 minutes. I can go on a 48-minute rant like I text you and tell you how much the Flyers suck. But that's not it's not fun to talk about that. Like,
and it's not productive. Who cares?
Right. I don't want my team to suck. I want changes to be made. At this point, just get rid of everybody in the front office.
In the front office, yeah. In the front office, I think that go on.
No, that's what I was saying. Like, no, you piggyback off that. Yeah, I wasn't saying get rid of everyone. I was saying get rid of the front office. That's clearly the problem. If people don't think that's the problem, I got nothing else for you. Like, because again, the Rangers and the Devils. Remember how bad even the Sabres are somewhat better than the Flyers.
The Rangers turnaround is a kick in the balls. And I know some of that comes off the back of like Panarin just wanted to sign there. But on another boat is they decided to go through a rebuild about 4 years ago, and they're there, right? Like, and we went through a retool and we're not competitive. And to be honest with you, of all these picks that we were so high on, I don't know if it's scouting, drafting, or development, but there are issues. There are issues. And
the Kraken have 17 more goals scored than the Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, what's there to say? What's there to say? I think that we as Flyers fans for years, we fall in love with some of these players. We overvalue them. The franchise overvalues them. And then when they don't really hit that high of a ceiling, we're looking around going, well, now what? And clearly, there's something wrong with the front office. But there's problems all over the place, and it's where this team's sitting. and we've defended Fletcher, but he's got to be on the hot seat as well. Vigneault's his hire. He redid about a half the roster. They're no better. There's no end in sight. They don't have tradable pieces where you're going to get good pieces back, right? Hockey trades can be a little bit like basketball trades where you're not going to just dump salary, and they spend up to the cap. It's not like they're not spending money, but to be up against the cap as tight as they are, to put this product together again, 2 years in a row. I'm tired of on paper.
Yeah, you know what? I'm good on paper too, and I'm currently an inventory manager for Gentel. Not for I'm not, a hockey player for the Philadelphia franchise.
And the fans want a general behind the bench or someone that's going to. I also don't think, and you and I have discussed. This is a topic we can do a little bit today. Yo's not going to be the head coach very long, right? Like they need a change of identity. They need a change of system.
It's every game. Mike Yeo is the interim coach for this game.
It's not going to last that long. I can tell you, I don't want Tortorella. I don't think that kind of coach works anymore.
It doesn't work like that in sports anyway. Not just hockey. Like we had this conversation, and I'll just get on this real quick. It's because people were talking, obviously, with the Eagles with my hat on. If they fired Sirianni, people wanted Seth Joyner. I don't think Seth Joyner could be a coach in the NFL because he's old school. It didn't work with Mike Singletary at the 49ers. It's just, it's a different era right now of coaching, and Tortorella wouldn't have, doesn't last. AV didn't last. Surprisingly, Peter Laviolette is still around. So, but there's still, I don't know who they're gonna get. It will be Tocchet, most likely.
Probably.
You're going to have your people who are going to sit there and say, "Oh my God, they just can't hire from without, or they always hire from within." Well, you know what? They did. They had the one guy. I think he had like a .01 tie to the franchise was Hackstall, and he blew. He was terrible. He got zero respect in the league from the officials. You saw it. Like you saw him yelling at the refs, and you could just see the refs like, "I don't even know your name." Tocchet carries that moniker of I'm Rick Tocchet, and I'm going to get my point across. So and he's known throughout the league, and the fact that the Flyers sit at 8, 12-4, with a salary cap hit of $83 million is a disgrace.
The franchise is standing over the last decade's a disgrace. It's for this franchise. This isn't the Coyotes. This is again for the Philadelphia Flyers to sit there and watch Pittsburgh, who probably is going to end up with new ownership, in a couple years, to watch Washington win cups, to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning become a dynasty as the 5th largest market in the country, in a building that the fans show up to watch those things happen, is a disgrace. There's no other way to say it.
So I had saw something on social media where, fans were comparing this season and last season to the season where they were really bad. I think it was like 06 or 07.
Oh, yeah. That was the strike season, right?
Yeah, I forget. But it was like they were terrible.
Yeah, they should have ended up with Kane. They end up with JVR after that season. Yeah.
But, if you actually go back to that season and if you look at the stats, they were losing games 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2. They very rarely got blown out by, I think it was like 12 times. Well, I know it seems like a lot, 12 times you lost by, 4 goals or more. In an 82 game season in hockey, that's like once every 10 10th game, and
Once
you
every
know,
8th game. Yeah.
so you know, like that team was at least somewhat competitive. They just couldn't win. They didn't have the leadership. You know, as great as Mike Richards was, just he wasn't a leader, and that's why they named Pronger the captain once the '09 season started. We all know how the '09 and 2010 season started and how it ended. You know, and you saw the competitiveness of those teams. Granted, they were the worst team in the league, and they got screwed. But you saw that they had potential. They weren't, you know, it's like, all right, you look at a team like, oh, you know, like I said, 2-0. 8 minutes left in the third period. There's zero shot that they're coming back from this. So, unless you disagree.
You know, I mean, when they go down 1-0, I pretty much surrender that the game's over. And why wouldn't I?
Well, you don't, I mean, because you want to have faith.
They haven't shown me that I should.
Oh, no. I know, but I'm saying we want to.
Doesn't mean we want to, but basically, you know, like I'm at the point where like I can't invest money or emotion into this franchise anymore. They've done it, you know, like they've done it. Not me being a bad fan, not me being a bad hockey fan. They've done it. They've. Go ahead.
In their last 13 games, the Colorado Avalanche have scored 69 goals. The Flyers have scored 56 all season.
Yeah. Look.
On the things you were going
Come
to
on,
buy
stop.
Colorado's Colorado. You know, like they've got a generational defenseman and a Hart caliber offenseman. You know, like what's there to say? Really, what's there to say? The Flyers are entering like Senators territory.
Right, and that's the thing. It's like at least like those teams, they played hard. Like that was like the one thing about this franchise or even just the city, is that everybody who played for the city of Philadelphia as a sports, as an athlete, they played hard. They played with grit. I didn't really want to use that word because that's the most popular thing about the Flyers right now is that damn mascot.
Yeah, but he's going to become a symbol of how inept this team has been.
Sure is. Yeah, he's absolutely. So, you know, and they're not even playing hard. They're not. There's no heart there. They're not playing hard. And again, you know, this is just a fan speaking out and watching the games. I could be 100% wrong. My opinion is they're not playing hard. They have no heart. You know, so at least Shane Falco played with heart as a replacement player. You're getting nothing from anybody on this team. You know, as great as Martin Jones has been, and as great as, you know, Carter Hart has been, it's going to affect them. You really hope it doesn't.
You've got Carter Hart signed a bridge deal, right? Like, and as a goaltender who's got a .929 save percentage, if this franchise doesn't get it together, and when that contract expires, I doubt he would stay. You know, like,
it's
right?
No reason to stay. And you know, and how symbolic is this season that a canine took a shit on the emblem at center ice? Like,
I mean, at least he said what the rest of us feel.
Oh yeah, I just it's so frustrating, and you want to sit there, and you know, oh yes, like the entire fan base should just show up tomorrow or the next game. I forget when it is. I think they play tonight. Don't they play tonight?
No, they're not back to back.
They're not back.
They play tomorrow, I believe.
Maybe that's what it is. Just show up with a brown paper bag on your head. Everybody.
Don't show up. Let them play in an empty building like it's last year. And that's sending. I don't even blame the players. Honestly, Chris, like I think that these guys, you got some veterans, you got some young kids, you know, like the franchise itself, the players aren't to blame for how bad this team has been for a decade. They're responsible for how bad they are now, you know, and you'd think there'd be some embarrassment for getting your coach fired. but at the same time, they're not responsible for what happened 8 years ago or 7 years ago.
No.
A lot of this team, like, but also like, what else can you do to send a message?
Right.
As a fan,
You're
going to throw all your jerseys on the ice.
Right. It's funny, is because like, as mad as you get at social media, sometimes it's very comical because someone had tweeted out, "Well, this doesn't suck so bad," and then 10 minutes later, "This sucks," and then like 15 minutes later, "This really sucks." Like, and that's where we are. I don't know. Like, I feel victimized by the Flyers. Is there a 1-800 number I can call so I can complain? I can get my best Karen impression on.
Well,
somebody owes me something.
But like, I feel like when the Sixers went through, the process, at least we knew they were building to something.
We knew, like they were signing like dudes like Bill DeRozier to play point guard from his CYO days. They were signing guys like Jack Griff to play center. Like we knew that they were going to suck.
Saying at least they were building to something. I would deal with the Flyers stinking. I'm not saying they have to go full process. I'm just saying, like, I would deal with them being less competitive, like in terms of spending, in terms of product, if they were building to something. And we've dealt with this. I think the worst, I think that I've made it a point to say it, but I will also say it out loud again. I'm not the biggest fan of salary caps. I don't think that they work the way that they're intended. I think that for the NHL, it saved some franchises, so I understand it, but I don't think the way that they're intended. I think that it's like, if you're mediocre, it's worse than being bad. And if you're bad, it's hard to turn around and be good again. And I just think that it ends up, especially in leagues with guaranteed contracts, and not that I want to go away from guaranteed contracts, just one or two bad contracts sinks you for 6-7 years. And I don't think that that's good for fans. I don't think that's good for franchises. I don't think that's good for the product. I'm not saying you have to be able to turn it around year over year like the NFL kind of does, but there has to be a way to get out from stuff that could sink you.
No, you're absolutely right. Like Devils had a 4-game losing streak. They looked terrible in 4 games. They come out and they look like the 80 Oilers. Like, come on, man. Like, it's like they're not that good. The Devils aren't that good. There's no reason we should have got shut out. Marty Brodeur don't play for them no more.
The Flyers aren't that good, bud. That's the fucking... And if they are that good, they're not playing that good. I
had saw on Twitter last night, like during the game, the Philadelphia Flyers rebuild, and it was just a picture of a rocking chair.
But they haven't even done a rebuild. What did we sell Wayne Simmons for nothing at one point in after the Stadium Series game? We have never really entered a rebuild.
No, you're right. We haven't entered a rebuild. And if we could start it soon, like in like a day, get us somewhere.
I don't even honestly
give us some. There has to be some kind of optimism. Listen, I know it's easy to sit here and stay from behind a microphone and from behind a desk, to be optimistic and try and look at the bright side. I know how hard it is. There's got to be a light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be, right?
But
this drought has to end, right?
It eventually does, but does it? Look at the Cleveland Browns. Look at the Sabres. But at the same time, like, in order to enter a rebuild, they don't have, other than Giroux's contract expiring and him still being productive. Not that I only want to trade Claude Giroux because he deserves to compete. This isn't me saying we need to run him out of town. Who's trading for James Van Riemsdyk? If someone trades for him, it's going to cost you a pick, which is the opposite of what you need in the situation that they're in. maybe someone would trade for, like you might be able to get some things for Konechny. Do we want to give up on him? Like Morgan Frost has played well. Maybe you look at moving him just to get extra picks. But they're young players. They're not usually who you give up in a rebuild. You usually give up a veteran who maybe has a postseason left in them. Like they just don't really have. I mean, Ristolainen might be a player that teams want if they're not able to get a deal done after this year, for the next years. Like he might be someone that you can deal, but he cost you a first-round pick to bring in. They don't have that. The type of player that you'd move, again, I like Kevin Hayes. For a playoff team, that's exactly what you don't trade for, is a guy with that many years left.
Right. And back to the coaching thing. I don't know if you saw.
They hire Tocchet. It's over now.
No, I didn't get that alert. But he was on the NHL Faceoff on TNT, and then he had to step away and take a phone call.
Yeah.
So of course, Twitter, Reddit, Discord, everything blew up. It was like, oh my God, Rick Tocchet left. He's signing with the Flyers. Like the only problem is we're due $5 million to AV. Do they really want
for another 3 years?
For another 3 years, do you want to have $10 million in coach money tied up for 3 years?
They're looking at losing a lot of ticket sales, man, if they don't get this right.
And you know what? We're at that point where, like before, it was great to go to a Flyers game. It was great to go to these events. Now more people they don't like society, so they don't go. They don't go out and deal with the rest of the community.
It's not even just they're dealing with the rest of the community.
And you don't want to pay $80 a ticket, $30 to park, and $50 for food for 2 people.
Easily. And then on top of it, like there are people who, even if they're not that they don't want to rejoin society, there are a lot of people where like they really want to weigh, is it worth possibly getting sick? Regardless of what you feel about that, there are a population of people that feel that way. And if the choice is I don't have to spend $200, to go watch a bad product and possibly get sick afterwards, like
I want to be sick to my stomach because the Flyers suck, not because I contracted something.
I want to be sick to my stomach because I'm so happy because they win. Like that's the last thing I want to be bitching about is another year where they're bad. But I guess the every other year streak had to be broken.
Shut your mouth. They're going to turn it around. I mean, they did. Didn't they lose 10 games a couple of years ago in a row?
And 19.
And they made the playoffs?
I think they went on a seven game losing streak. But look, they have the goaltending. Anything can happen. But the reality is there's been nothing to show me that would happen.
They're going to hire Andrew McDonald as their head coach.
My statement. A typical Flyers move would be like something like that. Chris Therien. Yeah.
So we talk about the dismay that the franchise is in, and Fletcher and everything. Do you think maybe they, as bananas and crazy as he was, do you think Hextall knew what he was doing?
Here, no.
Okay.
So I think that, again, I think in all leagues, unless you're getting one of those players, we overvalue draft picks. And I know that that's sacrilegious to say, but we overvalue draft picks. And unless you're getting one of those franchise-altering players, they're overvalued. When you look up and down at the players that he's picked, there are a lot of misses. I don't think he was horrible, but I don't think what he did worked. I think that if it did, we wouldn't have had to sell off half the roster last season and still be in the situation we're in. This should be, if what he did worked, this should be where they're a perennial contender for the next 5 to 7 years. They're not, with no insight of when they will be.
Yeah, but is that on the GM of him, or is that more on the coaching? Because he hires the
He
coach.
hired the coach.
Yeah.
He hired Hackstall and then got himself fired because he refused to fire Hackstall. So that's part of it. But when you go down the drafts, they're spotty. And I feel like, I want Travis Konechny to score 40 goals. I don't want to sit here and say and make it sound like I hate the guy or I think he stinks. That's not true. But I think the Flyers under Hextall, other than Hart, drafted a lot of players that is very typical of the Flyers, which is like high floor, but not super high ceiling guys.
Yeah.
I think like German Rubtsov fits in that mold, right? Like, I mean, he's been hurt. I'm not going to knock him. His career got sidetracked. But even when you looked at his scouting report, the upside wasn't that high. Now, he was supposed to be a very good two-way center, and you can't have too many good centers. But I don't know. Like look down. And again, is it all on the GM? Is there a development issue? Probably. Right? Sanheim's been stifled some. He hasn't developed into his draft capital. I mean, him and Ristolainen together have been the best defensive line. But if Provorov wasn't such a maniac, would he have developed the same way? He's having a very bad season.
Very.
But
He looks awful on the ice. It's
once confidence goes, man. Once confidence goes, and he was playing really well early, and confidence is shot up and down the roster. But that's a coach's job to fix, and the GM. And I feel like because there haven't been other moves. Now I don't know I'm not there. I don't know if he's working the phones, but because there haven't been other moves other than claiming another player off waivers, I don't know what the plan. Like what's in motion, what's being done to fix it, because it either enter a rebuild or start working to fix it now.
Can we do another redraft and get Killmaker?
The next two players after Patrick, Miro Heiskanen
Yes.
and Cal McCarr. Both players are all-stars, and
even
defensemen.
Suzuki was taken 13th.
Yeah, this isn't productive, right? Like obviously, yes, but it's not productive because I bitch about all the times people talk about how like, oh, look at how many points Ghost has, or look at Cole Caulfield. Like it just, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep measuring the one good season a player has, or because they're better here, they're better somewhere else. A lot of these guys that were in the system here didn't thrive here. And it's, again, I have no ill will towards Gostisbehere. It just didn't work here. It's time for him to move.
No, so somebody commented, for some reason it's not showing up.
Okay.
It says, so we don't put any blame on the goaltenders?
No. I think that you got one bad start out of Jones and 1.5 bad starts out of Hart. Both are above 900 save percentages, facing some of the, I think the second most shots in the league, and probably in the top 5 in high danger chances. No, I don't blame the goaltending.
Well,
last year, yes. This year, no.
That's what I said. That's how I started.
They scored 0 goals. 0 goals. You can't win a game.
Well,
how can I blame a goaltender when the team scores nothing?
You're very.
But it's because it's. That's
I get
Philadelphia.
I get it.
They scored over. You need 3.5 goals to win most games. They're not doing that. You can't win. You can't expect to win 1-0 and 2-1 week in, week out. That's why they're not winning. You can't score 0 and expect to win. And this isn't Carter Hart letting the offense down and you feel like they have to play defense. Oh, no. You're letting up 35 to 50 shots a game.
Yeah, they're averaging 2.15 goals a game.
You can't win. You can't sustain victories that way. You might sneak a win here and there.
That only works in the playoffs. That doesn't
need-
work. It doesn't work 82 games.
You need to average 3.5 goals a game. Yes, you're going to have games where you get 2 and you win and 4 and you lose. But the reality is most games, if you get over 3 goals, you win.
No,
You
you're
can't
right.
win scoring none. You just can't. What's going on with the comments?
I don't know. It was in one of the groups, so maybe that's why it didn't show up. I just happened to look.
How can I blame the goaltender when a team puts no goals up? Or puts 1?
Again, because it goes back to stats being construed. Because when people look who look at like
Goals
like a
against
pitcher,
average.
or like a
Right.
pitcher, like a pitcher loses a game 2-1. You scored 1 run. How's it the pitcher's fault? Well, he gave up 2 runs. Again, it's nothing more needs explained. When your goalie gives up 2 shots, your goalie gives up 2 goals on 39 shots. That's a hell of a save percentage.
Carter Hart has like a over 91% save percentage.
Yeah, I think it's
Martin Jones is even better than that.
But there's people who want the goalie.
And it's not like they've got that save percentage based on they're just poor angled shots. The Flyers are giving up, I believe, the second or third most high danger chances. Look at them. They're pedestrian. They're letting guys walk right into the slot.
Just right walk, like not even trying to. It just looks bad. It's like just go in and score. Like that's all. Like what? Flyers have what is it? What am I looking at? Oh God. They don't even have a chance to win the division.
I mean, they're not mathematically, but their winning percentage would have to be so great that they basically have to be on a win, 80% of your games from here out because the metric is so good.
So the Flyers have a 5.2% chance of making the playoffs. The Islanders have a 3.3% chance of making the playoffs. The Flyers have a 0% chance of winning their division. Islanders have a 0.1% chance of winning their division. So they have lower odds to make the playoffs and higher odds to win the division over the Flyers. Like that's wow. That's bad.
They're bad. They're bad.
I've never seen that. So that's. And listen, we can sit there and keep saying they're bad. If you think the Flyers aren't, competitive, and you think they are, I don't know what else to tell you.
No, they're going to be basically eliminated from playoff contention by the new year. Functionally eliminated.
Yeah, it hurts. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I don't understand. Like again, how we started out the show, it goes back to the front office. You have to hold the front office accountable. If you're not going to hold the front office accountable as a fan base, you're not going to be competitive. If you go back and you look at Tampa Bay games, Tampa Bay Lightning back in the, after they won their cup, and then after the 2000s and the strike and everything else, there weren't fans at that games. They just weren't. And then they started with the draft. They got better. I think they're going on. How many times in a row have they appeared in the Eastern Conference Finals, other than one year when they lost? Like they've been there. They've been competitive every single season. So people are going to the games. So we're not getting that from the Flyers. Like, and then you want to wonder why Philadelphia baseball is considered more popular right now than hockey. Well, the franchise isn't doing anything to make it better for us as fans.
Sorry, I'm trying to look up.
Oh, you're good.
Some stats. So Carter Hart save percentage in unblocked high danger shots is over 70%. It's about 73%. Martin Jones is 73%. That puts him in line with Markstrom, Calgary's goaltender.
Yeah, for people who are wondering, that's
like Markstrom has 7.29. Bobrovsky's at about 0.74, Shesterkin 0.76. Like this isn't this isn't last year. It's just not last year. And I don't know. I guess maybe because we're from Philadelphia, like that's automatically we got, it's goaltending. Not this year, it's not. Not this year, it's not. And if they were losing games 5-4, fine. 3-0.
right. And you kind of want to go back in time and wish that maybe they would have made a run at Yzerman.
Well, yeah, but they did, and look, they bring in Hextall, who parted cups in Los Angeles, right? Like, didn't come, even though he was like a former Flyer, didn't come without success. Just what he did here didn't work. And watch, and I hate to, it is the Philadelphia thing. It's going to win a fucking cup in Pittsburgh. I hate to break the news to everybody. It's going to happen because that's the most Philadelphia thing to happen. Is this team will be left in shambles and he'll win a cup there and build another contender. Like after Crosby's past his window. And do you think that feels good to say? No, but that's the way it's been to be a Philadelphia sports fan.
There's a little bit of my soul that just burned. What's left of it.
That's what has our lives as a Philadelphia sports fan taught us to not think that.
So, but I mean, I literally got nothing else. I mean,
what else is there to say?
Like there's
nothing else to say.
It's a rough patch right now that we're going through. So if you see a Flyers fan and they got their head down or they're wearing a bag, hopefully they're wearing a mask and give them a hug.
Yeah, give them a wide berth.
Give them a fist bump and say, "I'm there with you, bro."
Yeah.
If you walk by an Eagles fan and say "Go Birds," say "Go Birds" and fist pump for the Flyers, like this, because trust me, we all feel the pain.
And hopefully, by the time we turn the microphones on, at least something is done. It would go a long way. Other than that, I got nothing. I don't want to be miserable the rest of the night.
Yeah, well, there's no Philadelphia sports on tonight. Instead, it's been two constant 4 days of this Jalen Hurts the starter.
Hey, Embiid looked fantastic last night.
Embiid is ridiculous.
They've got to get the Ben Simmons thing addressed.
So, for anyone who's concerned about the Sixers, the real season doesn't start till after January. So,
yeah,
once January 1st kicks, that's when you're going to see, you're going to see.
Because that's when really your haves and have-nots start to really separate, and those guys that want to win are going to want out, right? Like your Bradley Beals, players like that.
Yep. So, for all Sixers fans, or for all Flyers fans who are Sixers, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a blue and red light with an Embiid jersey.
Look, when you have an
MVP
caliber player, it changes how you feel about things.
Just get an Embiid Flyers jersey.
Yeah, right.
So,
all right. On that note, I'm not going to drink myself to sleep. I'm done talking about the Flyers. See you guys next
So you're just gonna watch them and go to sleep?
They're on at 10 tomorrow.
Oh, ball. Well, hold on, real quick. If the rumors are true, we need the Islanders to lose like 4 in a row because if
so
they don't,
can get fired.
Oh my God! Listen, everybody.
Carter Hart would drive him here himself.
I just hope it's not in a Porsche.
Yeah.
I will go pick up. I won't even. Just go. I'll find where he's at, and I'll pick up Barry Trotz. I'll place him right in front of the Flyers doorstep with a bow like the boss in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Me and Uncle Eddie.
Jelly in the Month Club. All right, guys. Till next week.
Thanks. Oh, you're so